Hey, happy Monday. It's Sarah Jane from Access Your True Nature and my cohort, Rover. And I want to just keep this brief today, if that's possible, for me, those of you that know me. I tend to go quite long on these. But I want to talk about what the sick puppy taught me about sliding doors and doubt and the power of noticing the subtle shifts in our field, because everything is connected to everything. And some of you know we had this puppy join our family 2 days ago, and he had a really, really upset stomach. Great Danes are incredibly sensitive, and he'd come from an abused family, not an abused family, but an abused past. And I think what it showed me is how easy it is to go into doubt. And I had all these old stories that came up again about how I've tried to help animals in the past, and things haven't always worked out the way that I wanted them to work out, and how I've been at the effect of having high expectations, and also not wanting to have high expectations. When I'm tracking animals, it's really hard to keep in a state of neutrality and not allow my thoughts, feelings, and emotions to affect the information that's coming in, because it's all out in the field and everything is connected to everything. So if you've kind of been looking back on your last 9 months of your life and wondering, hi Laura, hi Nicole, hi Remy, I feel like I'm not all here today, but anyway, I'm a little distracted by this gorgeous puppy. But it was really scary to watch him. He had like this explosive diarrhea, had a huge temperature. He just wasn't feeling well. And I went straight into this place of thinking, oh my gosh, I'm responsible for this life. I'm responsible for his needs. And what if I fail? And all this doubt came up because I want him to be well. We all just want better. And oftentimes this happens in all aspects of our life, because we feel this stabbing sting of regret inside our guts, or we're suffering from the stories that we haven't yet cleared, or we think we've cleared or got over. And in my case, I remember a Great Dane pup that I rescued about 25 years ago when I lived in Cape Town, and he had been so damaged. He was petrified of everything. And I remember sleeping, like literally sitting with him all night long, nursing him through whatever he was going through. And all the attempts and all the efforts and everything that I had, and I didn't have these tools when I went back then in the day, and we lost him. He passed, and I blamed myself for such a long time, because I wanted something that wasn't in my field to change. It's like we all create our choices. Oh, you've got to look at this puppy. He's just the cutest thing. Let me try and move the screen so you can see him. So, if you believe your feelings don't matter, you will disassociate. You will disassociate from those feelings, and you will numb out. And it's not just about the thoughts that we're feeling. It's about how we're feeling. And we have to be willing to become that which we wish to create, because what appreciates. And I'm umming a lot. Hold on a second. I'm working on a different thing, but I want to show you him. He's so much better today. And I had to allow myself to feel and let all those old expectations and old traumas and old places where there was still not resolution or not closure to come up, so that I could change it and not go into this place of numbing out. And I'd said that before. It's like I've said so many times. I said, no more dogs. When Pongo died, I was like, that's it. I can't do any animals again. It's different when you work with other people's animals, because there isn't this emotional attachment. Hi, William. Hi, Reza. That you get emotionally attached, and you want your animals. You want the people in your lives to be healthy and vibrant and to do well and thrive. And I don't know, it's like oftentimes that you see that there are things that you want, and yet you still feel like you're making no progress or you haven't moved forward. And so we numb out, or we go into more doing. I've spoken to so many clients over the last couple of days that are like throwing more stuff, throwing more application, more systems, more training, rather than sitting in the place of just pushing pause and going, okay, what can I work with here? And being willing to just become that which you wish to create. What appreciates, appreciates. And when you're stressed out, when you're sleep deprived, like I was 2 nights ago, I was literally up with him, cleaning up crap and vomit and bile and trying to do whatever I could with the tools that I had to get this puppy well. And it's very stressful. And when we're stressed out, cortisol goes pumping up into our brain, and it makes us clumsy and fat and stupid and unable to function with what is available to us. And we have to change our thoughts. That's the biology of belief. What goes in has to come out. And what was downloaded into us as children, or in our stories in the past, they do affect how we make choices going forward, because our core beliefs run our ship. And as adults, until we actually acknowledge what is true and the thoughts and the feelings become one, we can't be responsible for what we put out in our thoughts and feelings and emotions. So we have to trust that we're enough, because we don't have to work on fixing problems then. Not only is there the perception of how we feel about the animals and the people that we care about, how we're creating our life, how we're creating our business, that we have to look at how we're feeling about ourselves in that moment, and just trust that it's not up to us sometimes, but we can affect the outcome. Those sliding doors, if any of you saw that movie, that sliding doors was different scenarios, different forks in the road. If I take this road, what's going to come up for me? If I go in this direction, what's going to come up for me? So we have to look for things, and this is really the short lesson that I wanted to share with you about the last couple of days with Rover, and just getting him back into trust and getting his gut microbiome up and healthy, and him eating and his mood up again. Because when you're feeling sick, you can't do anything else but be in it. And animals are so clever at how they show us how to reserve our energy so that our body can just focus on healing. And we as humans think that we should get over it faster than our bodies are ready to. We're maybe over it in our minds, but our body needs to process, our body needs to assimilate and upgrade, and the microbial influences and the database on the nervous system, so that we can return to the trusting that our bodies have got it, and not give up or go into this fight, flight, fear response of thinking, the worst case scenarios, which is, am I going to lose this dog because he's dehydrating, and feeling so responsible as the caregiver. And we do this a lot, don't we? So, I want to just say to you, appreciate that everywhere you look, there is beauty in a flower. There is beauty in the support of friends. And I was so supported yesterday when I was like in a state. I was cooking pumpkin and chicken and rice all day in the kitchen for this puppy, and running around. One of my friends gave me a really amazing multi-boost of probiotic. I had Louisa, the woman that was the foster mother for Robo, show up with a whole bag of tricks and homeopaths and things to help and support him. And together, I think that's the biggest thing, is that we don't have to do the stuff alone. Together, we can move through our doubts and look at the what if scenarios from the positive, from really putting that out in the field of what we want things to look like, not the worst case scenario of, oh my gosh, what happens if this doesn't work? And I see this so much with clients of mine that are so ready for change, and they know that they can't carry on doing things the old way because they're stuck. And yet the money trips them up all the time, because they're putting so much projection on, if this doesn't work, what if this doesn't work again? What if I screw up? What if I get it wrong? What if things don't change? And that's part of what we go in as part of our human experiences, Instead of asking, how do I need to grow and evolve in order to attract the love or attract abundance? How will this be supportive? Will this be a contribution? And we have to stop thinking about the end result as the worst thing that could ever happen and look at what if everything is bigger and better than we could ever imagine possible, and just take one step at a time. Inch by inch is a cinch, yard by yard is hard. So overcoming self-doubt is one of those big ones. When we start thinking, oh my gosh, it's not enough to just ask for support or have positive thoughts. We have to follow through with the guidance to get the results. We can't stay up here in our mind and head trip all the time. We have to recognize the small steps and the little things, the little to-dos on your list. Because if we can just go at one to-do at a time, it all accumulates toward the bigger vision. And just like yesterday, it's the same old thing about it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to grow us, and we need eyes on us. It's that part of our old reptilian brain that is always going to go into doubt. And sometimes having the reassurance, having the support of your tribe, having other people brainstorming problems is the only way through, right? The only way through fear is to feel it. The only way through doubt is to feel the doubt and speak to the part that is in doubt, because it's not all of us that's in doubt. It's the parts that are still attached to the stories or the outcomes that didn't go away in the past, just like me with my last Great Dane, where we go into how did I fail this animal? Did I do enough? And I think we do that in all parts of our life, don't we? Is instead of looking at just actioning, just focusing on one thing and doing what's in front of us and seeing what changes when we do, and feeling the expansion and feeling the growth, or feeling where we're maybe contracting. Because remember, if it's not light, if it's light, it's true. If it's heavy, it's a lie. So mastery is not always about becoming the best at something. It's about understanding the journey and the process of learning through the challenges and through the hardships. I've learned so much about Great Danes in the last 2 days. They're not like other dogs. They're very sensitive. They have a very vata in their dosha. If you look at Ayurvedic medicine, they're incredibly sensitive. So their gut health is really important. And I always say gut health is important for all of us. All disease starts in the gut. So he's dreaming now. It's too funny. I have to show you. I don't know if you can see him, but he's having a little dream. Hey, puppy. Are you dreaming? He's dreaming. So, remember, and I think this is in the Course of Miracles, it says that when you're defensive about something, which shows up as doubt, as self-sabotage, and as addiction, when we are in that place of defensiveness about anything, we know that you have an identity of self with an illusion, with something that's not true. So knowing frees you of that illusion, and recognizing the patterns of unconsciousness. And this is the work of shadow dancing. This is the work of resolving trauma at the root cause of when you took on the belief that you thought that you couldn't be anything other than that. And that goes with our identity with disease. It goes with our identity of attachment to anything, and of how we go into numbing down because we think it hurts too much. Loving an animal like this. Oh, he's having a big stretch here. He's passed out. But that's the mastery. It's in the journey. It's not always in the big events. It's in the small steps that you take. And when you start to look at what do I need to know here, what am I missing? When you start asking generative questions, this is when the energy starts to change. So allow it to be there. If you're just like I had to do, I had to go deep, and I had to hold myself in the part of me that was afraid, that was in doubt, that, oh my gosh, well, what if this doesn't turn around? What if I can't get this dog healthy again? What if, and the same goes when I doubt just like anybody else. I'm human, even though I've been doing this work with trauma resolution and mindfulness work for years. Doubt comes up. I get afraid in the moment because I'm looking at, hi Maureen, hi Natasha, hi Patricia. We go back into the stories and we get attached to the stories. And that's what the ego does to us. So when you can start really freeing yourself of the illusion of that this isn't the same as then, when you can start looking at, is this true? And you recognize the patterns of unconsciousness, the parts that have gone to sleep or that you've pushed so far down because it hurt too much, or you're afraid that the outcome isn't going to be as high as your expectation. And remember, people don't break our hearts, they break our expectations. So when you can do that and allow yourself to trust that whatever arises can arise without proving or judging or defending anything, when we allow it to just be there, as it expands our awareness to a presence that observes as it starts to unfold, the more you can see and the more that you can start growing consciously towards what you want. So that's just kind of how I've learned to really stay with what is and not go racing off into all the future worst case scenarios with this puppy and his future, because we want what we want and the ego wants what it wants. So, they don't really live, animals, they don't live from anything other than the present moment. They don't live from an image or compare themselves to others. It's not as good as better than. That's the ego talking, and defensiveness always arises when you identify. You've got to see him now. He's so hysterical. He's looking, okay? And see the people. Can you see? I'm totally besotted. But what was I saying? Yeah, so defensiveness and those places of numbing out. Because remember, either you're hyper or you're under aroused. And they're both parts of that nervous system that are going into the defensiveness of it's like, oh my gosh, I can't deal with this. What have I done? Why did I take another dog on? I went into all that crap yesterday because the identity to myself in that responsibility that I have taken on as a choice with this dog, for instance, and with my cats and with my daughter. It's the same thing with your businesses. When your identity to yourself is threatened, when we start to let go of the old stories, the ego thinks you're going to kill it. So we go back into the old stuff again. So one of the questions that I was asking yesterday was, what is the space of creation that is wanting to happen through me in this experience? And what is the best way forward to achieve that? And this is specific to the dog, but it's the same questions that I use with my business, with my clients, with my family, with all my relationships, is looking at what is the energy that I need to partner with to move myself forward out of this place of self-doubt and self-sabotage, and going into all of these scary places where my scaredy cat came out and gave me another level of awareness when I could just tune in and listen to how my body was feeling, because there was a lot of sympathetic co-sharing of this upset stomach that the dog had. My husband had an upset stomach. I was having an upset stomach. I was feeling the nausea, because when you're in the field of everything is connected to everything, we feel. We're sentient beings, just as dogs and cats and other animals are. So when you just got to trust what that is, and know that you're way more powerful than the doubt fire and the fear of the what ifs. So just look at that. If you're experiencing any sort of temporary unpleasant difficulties or emotions at the moment, or so-called negative emotions, just ask yourself some of the questions that I did yesterday, and look at, how can I connect to my own stillness, to the wise woman, the part of me that knows that this is temporary and that we will get through it. I know that none of these emotions are your enemy. Your emotions are there based on the thoughts that we have to show us a different way. And if we can create everything we don't want, why not create what you do want? It's a lot easier like that. Thank you, Carmel. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. So, some of the other questions, and I want to keep this short, but I'm going to call these Movement Mondays, and I'm not as visible online at the moment because I've got a lot of stuff happening in the back end with the Lions and some great new stuff coming out for you. But look at yourself and just ask your questions, because these are the gifts, these are the messages that move us. And I want Mondays to be the movement where you set the intention and you look at what is it that you believe about yourself. And this whole thing is tied up to past perceived failures, where we think we've screwed up, where we didn't do enough. Just like I was saying, there's so many stories and examples of this. And talking to my clients, we're all have similar doubts and similar viewpoints, and where we just need to change our perspective 1 degree and things start to change. So what do you believe about yourself or others or the world that you need to let go of right now? What are some of the boundary violations that have happened in your immediate environment? Like with me, my whole world, because I was tired, because everything went to worst case scenario. And I started to violate some of my own energetic boundaries yesterday, where I was literally just running on this hyper-vigilant, reactive mode that wasn't helpful to me, and it wasn't helpful to my family, and it wasn't helpful to the dog or everybody else that was totally concerned about what the outcome of this was going to be. And look at some of the places where that collective energy that's there to support you, how often we shut it down or we push it away. Because the ego again goes into that there's wherever there's shame, there's perfectionism lurking, and wherever there's that lurking, there's always fear underneath it. So just remember, if you felt any of that, where you're actually hurting yourself, and we can't help others if we're hurting, is just remember the first time that maybe you felt that way. Like I went back to the story of the Great Dane, and and his name was Scooby Dooby Doo. Then I started thinking about all the cats that I had really had a painful journey with, that I absolutely loved in my life, and the outcome ended up being really incredible lessons, even though it wasn't fun. But there's a part of your purpose, just as there is in my purpose, to create a world where something that was horrible never ever happens again. And often we doubt ourselves because we haven't made the changes that we want or that we need, or we haven't achieved as much as we would like to. And that discomfort that comes from the feeling of not living into our potential, and the seeker who emerges from within us, are feedback to let us know we're on our way to something greater. And remember, we don't optimize overnight. Our bodies need time to catch up, and part of living into our potential is having to feel and deal with the pain of not being there yet. Be present with what is. That's how we polish and we grow and we expand from our spirit, and not from the problem that we label as suffering because it's uncomfortable. Change is not always comfortable. So ask yourself, what if feeling a desire to transform is a symptom of being a seeker? And it's important to keep going inch by inch, little bits at a time. So just focus where your attention on what you want. So I kept seeing as if the dog was already healthy, that his stomach was stronger than ever, that his immune system was stronger, that his nervous system was literally resetting because of the work that we were doing with the trust process and all the other things that we were giving his body to support him healing. So, imagining as if it has already happened, this is the futuring, where when you shift from yourself to something bigger than you, which is your mission and your vision and your purpose, whether that's the small things, like they're not small, but it makes all the big stuff inconsequential when you just focus on what is this about and how can I support this, and you heal these core wounds and let go of the limiting beliefs, because these animals come into our lives to support us on our journey, even if it means the death of them. They will do that for us, and they often do. They'll take on sickness for us. We see this in the wild, in the morphic field of the dolphins or the elephants that are there to raise consciousness up. And with the lions, that when I've had conversations with the rhinos and the elephants and the wild ones, they're not attached to their physical bodies the way that we are. So what we do is not as important as how we do it. And we have to allow our choices and our subsequent actions to come from a place of total allowance, total acceptance, and self-love. You know, we've got to start by loving that we're doing the best that we can. Hi, Joanne. So I know I've probably gone long again, and I really want to try and make these 10 minutes. But just for today, make your movements matter in the small steps. You know, focus on one thing at a time and celebrate the wins. Because when you allow that to happen, everything changes. Everything changes. And doubt can't be there, right? Love and hate cannot be in the same room together. So look for what you want, act as if you already have it, and look at how you can start to create a daily practice this week. I'd love to see your comments. So type in the comments below how you're going to stop doing the things that come from doubt. Stop trying to prove yourself. That's a really good place. Look at what you're ready to release from these unrealistic expectations, and look at where you feel yourself going into self-sabotage or going into the old stories, and remind yourself of why you do what you do, what's important to you, what your true value is, and just let yourself feel the love. Be gentle with yourself, and then examine what's driving your behavior. For me, it was like a lot of stuff that was out of my control. So write out, like I do. I always get my journal out and I look at what are my conditions of worthiness. What is my expectation here that's unrealistic? And then I write down new boundaries, new rules, and I look at the truth around my issues of worthiness, where I go into doubt, where we all go into doubt. And then try a heart meditation. Just allow yourself to love, to fill yourself up. Because when you do that, everything else around you changes. So that's my little movement Monday for you. And the puppy is having a good old stretch again. And it's time to give him his beautiful butternut and pumpkin. Pumpkin's really good for animals, by the way, that have upset stomachs, and probiotics are brilliant. But I'll be doing some posts on how you can support your animals with a natural, healthy approach, and sharing what I'm learning as I deepen into my own work and deepen into trust that you've got this. And remember to know that you're not alone. You are supported, and life matters when you start to realize things are bigger than us. When we show up with ourselves, life shows up for us, and it's such a privilege. So don't lose touch with yourself, and don't go into future worst case scenarios for long. When you practice these tools, you don't have to stay there as long as we used to. And I'm not saying that it's simple, but it's not at times like that when you're concerned. It's not always easy. So just base your present moment on some appreciation. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate that I'm not alone, that I have an incredible community, and I have people that have great resources just as you do. So don't be afraid to ask, because you'll be amazed just how supported you are. All right, that's it for me. Let me know if this was helpful. Share it with anyone that you think might need to know. If there's any nuggets of wisdom in here that you resonate with, let me know. And let me know what you like more of, so that we can really return to trust and open our hearts and let ourselves heal, especially the painful bits. Okay? Lots of love. Bye. Mwah.